What's up, nigga?
You're watching Fugitive Red Eye, and welcome to another episode of Tales from the Drive-Thru, the series where I talk about my exploits, adventures, and overall stories from the workplace. Now, there was a specific thing that brought on today's episode. However, I'm going to go over a more generalized version of this topic first, before getting into the really juicy stuff. So as a general rule, one of the most fucking annoying things you can run into as a supervisor is when a couple gets hired on at the same time where you work. Now, there's instances where this hasn't been a problem, but a lot of the times how this ends up being is they're inseparable and always have to be working in the same area at the same time. They take their breaks at the same time. They get really obnoxious if you try and tell them to move. Even when they are in different areas, they go and try to chit-chat with each other. And of course, you run into arguments and fights and all sorts of other stuff. There used to be a temp couple we have that would constantly be arguing and screaming at each other if we let them work in the palletized section at the same time for too long. It got to the point where it was bad enough that we had to tell the temp agency to stop sending them. It's not just couples that do this attached at the hip thing, though. Sometimes you run into it where it's like sisters or, you know, cousins or even just friends or whatever. But a lot of the time when you get people that are hired on together, it's really frustrating. Couples, it's the most apparent and the most annoying with, although you do also just run into guys that fucking simp for a lot of the chicks there and will go and try to chit-chat them. So it's not exclusively a couple's issue, but that is probably the most prominent. But let's talk about what spurred me on making this video today. So just yesterday, we had this couple that had been working there for a while. The man, I don't know if they were husband and wife or just boyfriend and girlfriend or what, but the guy was really fucking annoying a lot of the time. Like, he would constantly, say really loud shit to try and get my attention. He'd constantly have a ton of energy trying to make, really bad jokes and trying to get my attention with them. He's also the kind of guy that when he would leave would very loudly say goodbye, and if you weren't similarly loud that he could fucking hear you, he'd be a baby about it. I didn't by any stretch necessarily dislike the guy, I just found him a little annoying, but he did his job, so that was fine, I suppose. Although him and his girlfriend or wife or whatever she was would constantly leave their trailer at the same time without telling anybody, and then we'd have to go catch it up. They did work the hardest trailer in the warehouse, and by trailer I'm talking about the one we're loading into physically. On the plus side, they didn't leave it for very long at a time. There are other employees we've had that are much worse with abandoning their area without telling us and staying away for an extended period of time. Luckily, these guys didn't leave quite as often as some of the other employees we've had to deal with in the past, and they always did come back pretty quick when they did leave. It's still really frustrating and fucks us over, especially if they don't tell us. But other than that, he would constantly, keep trying to chit-chat and make small talk that was just kind of weird and all over the place and really oddly high energy. He also kept complimenting how his girlfriend did at the job, and I'm like, dude, okay, whatever, she's doing fine, I don't care. He just kept going on and on about it. But what really spurred this video on was apparently yesterday they were arguing and fighting a lot before they came into work. And then later on in the day, they both went outside into the parking lot, and he says she hit him in the throat, and then he hit her. So then the police had to be called, and obviously they both got fired. Which, again, sucks, because they worked in the hardest area of the warehouse, the hardest trailer to work in. But obviously I'm just thinking of this from a practical sense. Obviously their whole little dispute thing probably isn't good either, but I don't really know the full details of that other than that apparently he said she hit her in the throat and then he hit her. So I don't know exactly what all went on with that and what spurred that on, but it was a whole big thing, and now we're 2 employees short, so that's fun. Nevertheless, as I said, couples working in the warehouse can be really annoying. I'm pretty sure with that temp couple, there was a couple of times where the chick was throwing things at the guy, too. So it's not the first time there was a little bit of aggression and violence. Just not actual physical contact like that. There were also these sisters that used to work there that were, always attached at the hip and, never wanted to, go anywhere separately. I swear to God, they went to the bathroom at the same time. And I remember when I would see them doing shit, I remember I jokingly said to somebody, I don't even remember who I was talking to at that point, but I was like, are those 2 sisters or lovers or both? But anyway, I think that's all I really had to say for this episode. I hope you enjoyed. Have a good one. Toodles.
Yeah.
That sucked. I'm sure glad that's over with.
I'm gonna fucking die here, Jack!